Hey everybody, Koner Om Gandhi here. Our Best of 2022 magazine has dropped today. We're super stoked for it. It's got our top 10 stories of the year, featuring some amazing stories of overcoming to be an endurance athlete, of how it all started, of overcoming injury, depression, and drugs. And you're absolutely going to love it. And the best part is, it's free to read. Just go to our website at runtrymag.com. Go to our Instagram at RunTryMag, or you can go to our Facebook at RunTryBike and find this digital magazine. And now we go on to the show.
One, two, three, four.
I want to dive right into kind of like how your endurance sports journey started. We talked a little bit about it in the green room. I think one of the questions that anybody has with somebody doing with any disability, like ankylosing spondylitis, is, were you an athlete before AS? All right, I'll let you take it from there.
I wasn't an athlete. I used to snowboard and wakeboard at like a pretty high level, and then I worked in the fire department, and so I've always like been but I've never been like athletic. I've been like fit, but never like pursued any actual like sports or being athletic or anything like how I live now. That all started 6 years ago after I got diagnosed with AS.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about, so you got diagnosed 6 years ago. Tell me about that, how that diagnosis sort of went down, kind of what was going through your head at the time, and how that eventually led to you wanting to be an endurance athlete.
Um, so I was actually, because I left the fire service and I became a tattoo artist, and you sit a lot, and so I had like gained a little bit of weight, and I thought, well, I'm going to do a triathlon, and so I was training for this triathlon, and I rode my bike, and then I ran, and then I couldn't walk, and I've had like problems with my back since like my early 20s, but I just thought it was always from like getting hurt on my snowboard or something like that. But when this happened, I said, okay, I'm going to go to the doctor and find out what's wrong. And I thought I had like herniated discs, or just from being hard on my body over the years. And so we did an MRI, and it looked all right. And then, but they ran an arthritis panel in a blood test, and that's how you find this disease, is a blood test. And so he told me, what I had and kind of what it wants to do to you. And I took, and then I went to a rheumatologist, like probably about a month later. And that's when like my journey really began, because the disease wants to make you, so you can't move. It wants to fuse your spine together. And so I thought, well, I'm going to just do the opposite. I'm going to just move as much as I can. And I started so small. And that's what I really want, like people listening, I really want them to hear that, there was a time when walking on a treadmill for 10 minutes was like literally the most I could do. I didn't just like overnight say, I want to run 250 miles. Like, it's been a very long journey. But I just am absolutely relentless. Like I will never quit.
Yeah.
So
We actually have a question down in the comments from Mermaid Zilla there. What does AS do to your spine?
Oh, I got to give a shout out there to Mercedes. So what it does is like my body thinks that like there's an injury somewhere, as far as my understanding goes. And so it sends like all the inflammatory responses to my spine, and then it tries to fix it by causing the inflammation, which is the pain, and then it tries to like heal it by it growing new bones, and so it basically begins to fuse, and so you can't move, and it affects your spine, And a lot of people have it in their neck, and then it can get really bad in your ribs, where your ribs like attached to your sternum. And that used to be a problem, but honestly, like the more I swim, the less it hurts. And so, and I do a lot of like maintenance type stuff to really like stay on top of it. Like you got to like really like be in it to stay one step ahead of it. And like when I write on Instagram that like my life's work is to stay one step ahead of this disease, like it really is. Like that's my goal. So
I have a question for you, Brandon. So you said you were a firefighter before you became a tattoo artist, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you had, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, that you went through physicals while you were a firefighter, and they never found, and you said you had these issues, back issues in your 20s, so there was never any diagnosis of a back pain, or was it just part of, that's part of the job?
So and this happens a lot with AS. It goes misdiagnosed, undiagnosed for years because the symptoms, they can always be associated with something that you're doing. And, it can be active and then not active. And it's just kind of like this. And so in my 20s, it would be like really bad for a couple of days, go away. And then like, I remember I was in like one fire and I was like pulling ceiling, and the next day I couldn't walk. And so you're just, oh, well, I just hurt myself in this fire,
Right.
or I hurt myself on snowboard. And finally, when I was in my 30s and I got diagnosed, I was just like, all right, I'm done. Like I was planning on like trying to have surgery, and I think the place is in Germany, to get a new back put in myself. I had no idea that this is what I was going to be up against. Like not a clue.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's really common with AS. So people out there that have AS, like, or maybe think they might, like, it goes undiagnosed for long periods of time.
So did you advocate for yourself to have more testing done, or did you finally have a doctor that was like, something ain't right here, we got to figure this out?
In the beginning, it was always associated with something like rock climbing or my job, or there was never a time where it wasn't associated with something. And then finally, when I went to the specialist up here, I go, it hurts all the time now for no reason at all. And I mean, sometimes and he said, well, we're going to run a blood test just to be certain. So yeah, you have to be persistent, and you do have to advocate. So
one of the questions we actually got from the audience, I think since we're talking more in depth about the disease, was actually from somebody who also has AS. They would like to know what the severity of your disease is, and just kind of the specifics, and if it started fusing with the spine and the other joints. And is it mostly in your spine, or is it axial and in the other joints as well?
So my problem is basically my SI joint, and then I have a little bit in my ribs. But and a lot of people, like, they want to talk about this or they don't, but I take biologics, and I don't really, the benefits outweigh the side effects, and that's how I manage it. But it for me, it's in my SI joint, and the severity is like, it ranges from like a 2 to like a 5 or something like that. And I mean, I would say probably like 4 times a year. Like I'll spend a week where like I can't really walk. But what I'm finding is the further that I run, the further that I swim, the further I ride my bike, the more I move, the better I feel. So I just keep going. I just never want to stop.
So you talk about going further. You told us in the green room that your running started 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What prompted you to start running?
So I remember vividly, I was at the trail, and I had been walking for a long time because I didn't know what running would do to my back. And it hurt so bad, and I got so pissed off that I was like, it doesn't matter what I do, it hurts. So I'm just going to run. So I ran quarter mile, and then I walked quarter mile, and then I ran a quarter mile. I did that for like a week. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to go run 4 miles. All right, I'm going to go run 8 miles. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to do a half Ironman. And after the first half Ironman I did was the first half marathon I ever ran. And after I crossed that finish line, I realized I was like, all right, I'm barely scratching the surface of what I'm capable of. And that's when I met my boy Matt on Instagram. He's Matt_Mankey, and he's my best friend, and he's my coach. And I remember calling him on the phone, and I said, hey, dude, I just finished this half Ironman. Do you think I could run 31 miles? And he's like, well, I mean, I don't see why not. So he basically kind of took me under his wing, and he keeps me from hurting myself. And because, I mean, I'm good at just destroying myself. That's what I'm good at. And he'll tell me, hey, dude, why don't you dial it back? He'll look at my Strava and be like, hey, dude, why don't you cool it down for a week or so? And so he keeps me on track. And so then I did this 50K, and then that was in April. And then when I went and crewed with Helgi, you guys know Helgi, that was the second most eye-opening experience I've had when I watched him do Cocodona, because he has AS. Yeah. And not only him, but everyone else that did that race. I just was like, this is incredible. Like, people do this. And I think some people might see that and they might think, man, I don't know if I can do that, but I see that and I'm like, I can do that. And I remember Helgi came into Jerome, and he came in the morning, and the sun was coming up, and I mean, he was so tired, and he went to sleep in the car. And I remember I called my brother outside of the car, and I said, I'm doing this race, dude. I'm coming back next year, and I'm doing this race. And Helgi, he rolled down the window or opened the door, and he's like, I heard you say you're gonna do this race, dude. You are a dumb ass. So my next phone call was to Matt, and I said, Matt, I want to do this, dude. I cannot do it without your help. So I came back from Cocodona in May, and then we got to work, and he's like, I'll help you, and it's been a hell of a journey. So,
well, Brandon, let me show you
that.
If you,
yeah.
Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them for you, brother. I did it the first year.
Oh, dude, I want one of the T-shirts so bad, dude.
We got somebody here. I think it's one of your friends saying Hell's Bells.
Oh, yeah. That's Bivouac. That's right here. That's
Matt's.
Rod and Carissa. They're local. They run a triathlon company and ultra running company, and they put on great races. They're super good friends of mine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had another shout out from Mr. Superman 33 saying Brandon's such a badass. 6 hour 70.3 finisher, not to mention hardcore triathlete. Woo wee.
Oh yeah, I met him at a race this last summer. He's rad. It's cool to put yourself out there, and then people watch, and it's been weird, honestly. So
before we get to that question, so you sort of answered this question, Brandon, but I'm going to ask it in a less classy way.
Yeah.
So is your mindset more of fuck it, let's see what happens?
Oh,
when you
say fuck on here?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
We're all adults.
Yeah, all the time.
We're all adults.
Right.
So is it more fuck it, let's see what happens? Yeah. Because as you were starting to talk, I'm thinking to myself, if more people would take that approach to it, fuck it, let's see what happens if I go an extra step, if I go an extra mile. So is that kind of the mindset for you?
That is my mindset, and I've even written that on my Instagram. It's fuck all things ankylosing spondylitis. Fuck it. I'm gonna see how far I can go. I'm gonna see how much. That is absolutely my mindset all the time.
So what part of Helgi coming into Jerome gave you that stimulation to go, I am making that call to say, I'm going to do this race? Like, what did you see throughout that part? Because getting to Jerome is not easy, and getting in, once you're in Jerome, and it's still a lot of climbing and stuff.
Well, so it was because I was there at Fane Ranch, and then he went over Mingus, and he took Lori Enlow with him, who is also on my team. And Lori is, do you know Lori? Someone here knows Lori.
Yeah.
Yep. Lori is like one of my most favorite people in the world, and she's going to be on my team this year, and she's going to take me over Mingus Mountain and into Jerome this year, because just watching, like when Helgi left Fane Ranch with Lori, and she sent us pictures of him taking a nap and knowing, the climb he did, and then he talked about how just god awful the climb down was, and just like and like him being kind of like delusional, and like I remember he wanted food, and I was like, all right, what do you want? And he's like, no, I want all of it. I want you to bring all the food I have so I can see it. Like he had no idea what he was even talking about. And I don't know if there's something wrong with me, but I was just like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, this is what it's about. This is what I'm doing.
That climb down off of Mingus, so I did it as the sun was coming up.
Oh, so cool.
It was gorgeous. Just absolutely gorgeous. And the trail coming down is super single track with tons of rocks. Then once you get down that single track, it's all rocks.
Yep, that's
before you get the road into Jerome, and it's brutal. So the idea that like that is what's going to be the inspiration for you to be like, yeah, let's do this.
It's like the harder the better. Like I want to see, like, just how far can someone with AS go? Like,
Yeah. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, that was awesome. I love the recollection of somebody who's about to do Cocodona and somebody who's done Cocodona. It's super awesome. But Mermaid Zilla actually brought this up back there. I think it goes into what Jason was saying about mindset. You talked about Matt, somebody who's kind of mentored you and helped you out. He told us in the green room that the battle-tested mindset comes from him. So tell us a little bit about Matt's role in your life and the battle-tested mindset and what that means to you.
So battle-tested it's for people that maybe they're not talented, or maybe they don't believe that they can do something, and it really is the mind does all the work. The body will do whatever the mind tells it to do. And so Matt realized that like I'm never going to be very fast, and I'm not very athletic, so I just need to be tough as fuck, is basically what he told me. He's like, you need to be one of the toughest people that I know. And the only way to do that is to put yourself in like the harshest environments where you're just miserable, and just move forward. Just sit in the shit and just move forward through it and get to the end. And so that's what we do. And he puts together these little missions. We do like one a month, where we'll just go out into just like this god awful weather or terrain or whatever, and he just says, all right, we're just going, and then we're like, we'll go on like very little sleep. And he doesn't like let me rest for very long. He's like, you get 20 minutes, dude. Like, you don't get the luxury of sitting in an aid station for 2 hours. Like, you're not fast at all, dude. You get 20 minutes to change your shit, eat, and go. And he's always like behind me, just busting my ass. And so battle testing is just all about like, how tough can you make your mind? And for anybody that's interested, he makes awesome videos of like all our missions on his YouTube. Is the Disillusioned 1811, and it's got like all of our stuff out in the mountains, and so if you want to check it out, you can watch there. But the battle testing has really kind of changed the way that I look at, honestly, like just life in general, I guess.
Has your mindset always been, since you started running and doing endurance sports, focused towards battle testing, or has it sort of evolved over time?
That it has definitely evolved over time. I've always been like very driven and persistent, but when I decided I wanted to do Cocodona, it's like that's like next level stuff, and I knew that I would have to become a lot tougher than I was, and so the battle testing, it just keeps evolving, and what's so cool about it is like you get done with one and you're like, holy shit, man, I did that. And like, you know, you look at your watch and you're like, I went this far with this elevation gain and this kind of terrain. And then you do the next one. And then this, what I love the most about it is what you thought was hard, you know, 3 months ago, 4 months ago. Now that's easy because you just continually put yourself in these hard environments where, you know, things become easier over time. And then now I'm even like applying it to my own life outside of training. And that's what's so cool about ultra running is that it really, it teaches you how to deal with things outside of running. Like, you know, I mean, you could say you're training for life. I mean, sounds cliche, but I think it's true. Like when you're doing ultra running stuff.
One of the things.
Before we go,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
Just want to reintroduce everybody. My name is Jason Bahamundi. I am the founder and co-owner of Run Try Bike magazine. Being joined by Brandon Do As Is on Instagram and Om Gandhi, who is our co-owner. If you have questions, please put them into the little question mark on the right-hand side, or do as everybody else has been doing and type it in the comment section. We'll try to get to it and make sure we get it into Brandon's hands to answer. We had a couple of things, Brandon. Carl, who I didn't get all the name of, said that person has never seen anyone more determined than you, which is pretty awesome. And then Why Racing Events said Brandon is a badass dude and a super good person. So we're thrilled to have a person like you join our show. And then lastly, Matt, who you've been talking about, says, have Brandon explain the Dirty Marge epiphany.
Oh, the Dirty Marge. The Dirty Marge was like one of the first he put together for us out at Mount St. Helens. And I think we did it in August. And it was just hot fuck out. And the first like 11, 12 miles was just like super nice trail, man, like sand, just not some single track, just, I mean, like awesome trail. And then all of a sudden, it was at like mile 13. It's like that just ended. And we entered into like this, another world of just the gnarliest shit I have ever seen. And like we are filtering water and there's like biting flies and there's just straight bushwhacking up this shit. And it just like kept coming and coming and coming. And then like you get to, you know, you get done going up and then like you start descending down to these giant boulders that are like loose and sand. And it was just like so gnarly. And then I had this epiphany that like, this is exactly what Cocodona is going to be. It's just going to be 250 miles of this, of just moving through this shit that is just so hard. And that was when the Dirty Marge was what like changed everything. So we're going back there next year. It's in Mount St. Helens, and we want to have people like come run it with us. It's like 26.3 miles. It'll be one of the hardest marathons you ever do. And so we want people to come run with us. And if anybody out there is listening found some white and red Oakleys, those are mine on the Dirty Marge. Those are my favorite sunglasses. I want those bags.
Oh no, not the Oakleys, man. But I got to tell you, the Cascades are, I mean, I paced Bigfoot a couple of times and I'm doing it in 2024. The Cascades are brutal. So I can kind of get a mental image in my head of like the biting flies and like the humidity and the feeling in that forest.
When we were doing the Dirty Marge, there were two guys out there putting up the course markings for the Bigfoot going the opposite way. So some of it is on the Bigfoot course, and then it just gets so gnarly. But it was so awesome, and that is like, you get done, and that's like what stands out. You're like, I did that, dude. Like, what else can I do? Like, what's the limit? Like, let's find out.
One of the things you mentioned at the start of this conversation was going a quarter mile run, quarter mile walk. And Ohm and I both laughed and smiled because I don't know if you've seen, Ohm's story is literally called It Started with a Quarter Mile. And my story is exactly the same thing. I ran around a track for a quarter mile, then walked a quarter mile, and I finished my first mile, and I thought I was a superhero. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, right, got it done. And so then to be where you are today, you mentioned not being a natural athlete, and where you are today, like how do you, I guess, rectify that in your own mind, right? To not be an athlete, starting with a quarter mile and now registering to 250 miles. Like does that strike you as crazy, or are you like, this is just natural now?
See, I've been thinking like, maybe I am a little bit crazy, like in all aspects of my life, but to me, it's just normal. It's just like the natural progression of like, all right, I run a half marathon. I got to do a marathon. If I did a marathon, I got to run 30 miles. If I run 30, why not 100? It's just, to me, it's just natural. And I've always been that way in my life. Like with everything I do, I'm either all in or I'm all out. So like this does not come as a surprise to me. And I'm already bugging Matt, like, hey, dude, you're going to help me do the Triple Crown, you know, man, in 2024. So it's like I'm already looking at, and that's just the way my mind has always worked my whole life. So for me, it's natural. And I just knew that if I take those steps in the beginning, you know, I walk the quarter mile, I run the quarter mile, it's going to build. You know, I'm going up.
And I think that's a lesson for anybody who's watching this or will listen to it on our podcast, that if you're beginning, right, you don't have to be ready to run 100 miles, 250 miles. Like start with that quarter mile a little bit. And for those of you that are coming back, whether that be from injury or time off just because of life, again, get that quarter mile in before you start worrying about, you know, 100-mile distance or the full Ironman distance. We all got to start somewhere. And sometimes it is literally at a quarter mile level. I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, you know, we talked at length about the Cocodona 250 and how Helgi sort of, how you sort of had that moment, you know, where, you know, you kind of mentioned that's something that you wanted to do, and, you know, we've had the conversation about it, but one of the things I really wanted to kind of dive into is also your fundraiser for spondylitis. Tell people where they can find it, why you're doing it, and just kind of just tell the viewers what it's all about.
Yeah. So there's a link in my bio where you can donate to my fundraiser that I think almost in the entire proceeds will go to spondylitis, who they're the only nonprofit that is dedicated just to spondylitis, and it raises awareness, it'll advocate for people. And the big thing for me is that it helps with research for a cure, because I am not hopeful that I will see a cure in my lifetime, but because this is a genetic disease and I have a son, there might be a cure in his lifetime, and he may have this disease. And that is like above all else, that is why I do what I do, because if he does in his 20s get this, then I will know exactly what to do for him. I have paved the way. Like, nobody showed me how to do this. I'm going to pave the way for him. And if he does happen to get it, I can just say, dude, you're going to be fine. Look at all this shit I've done. You know, I'm going to show you how to do this too. And that is why I will never stop. But the fundraiser is just so like I can raise awareness. I can give back. I can get people involved, and mostly so I can get people moving. Like, I can get people out there with AS. Like, there's a couple of people on Instagram that have messaged me, and two of them are actually on my Cocodona team. They're coming with me. Two of them have AS, and they're going to run through me. And they have said, hey, I started running because of you. I did this because, like, that's incredible. Like, I'm just a guy who just one day decided, like, I'm going to put something on Instagram. And now there's like I always say, like, let's start a movement. Like that's what I want to do. Like, let's get people moving. And so that's kind of what the fundraiser is for me. And plus the people at Spondylitis that I've worked with are just so cool. So, and I do really want to give a shout out to Helgi, because I'm just following in his footsteps. Like, and when I said in the beginning, like, sometimes you have to see something to believe it. Like, that's true for me too. And when I saw Helgi, I'm like, oh shit, okay, there's a dude out here doing this. I'm gonna do it too.
Oh, I could not believe it with Helgi, man. Like, I met him at Moab when I was facing Hector Rodriguez, and this was before I knew he had AS, or before I knew his profile or anything. He is one of the most gung-ho dudes I've ever met. he is amazing.
Along so well. And one of my buddies, Seth, I ran the back-to-back 50Ks I ran a few weeks ago. He came out and ran with me for a little bit, and we were talking about Helgi, and he goes, yeah, dude, Helgi, he's almost too tough. And that's the best way to describe Helgi, I think. So I got to give him a shout out. I love that guy.
So one of the reasons I founded this business a few years ago, was to prove that, people from all backgrounds, shapes, sizes, colors can become endurance athletes. We just published our best of 2022 issue that featured Oscar Gonzalez, who has and had alcohol and drug abuse problems. And I want to talk to you about that, and because that sort of precedes the AS component of your life, and coming through that to then deal with AS and keep going forward and not falling back.
Yep.
Is an example that we want to shine a light on, to show people that you can get through these things through endurance sports. So if you don't mind talking a little bit about dealing with alcoholism, and how you've been sober for a decade now, and what that means to you, that'd be great.
Yeah. So I've been sober now for 10 years, and my drinking problem, like, really started when I was in the fire service, because I was a paramedic too. And I mean, that's kind of how I dealt with a lot of things. And it really, it kind of, when I drink, it kind of made me, like, become the person I thought I should be. And that's not a good person. And so 10 years ago, I mean, I was like, probably would have died if I would have kept going. And so I stopped, and it really kind of, like, changed things for me in my life, because you kind of learn, like, who your real friends are, and it's just a whole new way of life. But it's just like everything else. You just move through it one day at a time. And for me, it's I know how bad it can be, and I never want to be that way again. So, I just keep on moving. And then the other thing that is tough is with AS. I mean, I could get, like, probably any pain script I want to get,
right?
But I refuse, because then I wouldn't run. I wouldn't do any of the things I do. I wouldn't be moving forward. So it's just a choice that I have to make every single day. And, it just, you can just fight all these battles one day at a time,
Yeah, absolutely. I have been sober for about 12 or 13 years myself.
Right on, dude. So, then,
yeah, there are opportunities to, you can easily fall back on that stuff. But I do think that endurance sports allows us to get away from it in a way, right? Where it's like, yeah, I enjoy the dull pain of running, 30 miles, 100 miles versus the high you get off of, a bunch of beer or whiskey or whatever it is your drink of choice is. And so I'm much happier when I'm out there on the trail, and when I'm done, drinking water or Gatorade is fine. And I want the people that I'm with to know that if you want a beer after the run, by all means, enjoy it.
Yep.
Like, it's not going to be tempting.
It's funny you said that, because my dad like refuses to drink a beer in front of me, and my brothers don't really like to. And I'm like, dude, I don't care if you have like 3 or 4 beers, but if you start drinking like 15 or 20, I might start getting a little irritated. Like, because I've never understood the point of like 2 or 3, So, but that's another thing of that like, that's just how our minds work, where it's just some, and you understand, like, I'm all in or I'm all out in all that I do. And so I'm not at all surprised that I'm an alcoholic or that I want to run 250 miles. It's just normal to me.
Yeah, it's finding the. I always used to say it's always about finding the edge of the table and not falling over it.
Yep.
Right? Just keep pushing the envelope until the edge of it. And I hope that my table just keeps getting longer and longer and longer.
No, that's all we're doing. We're walking the edge every day, and we push the edge out just a little bit further every day we go out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, did you have another question? Because I have another one.
Not another question off the top of my head, so I'll let you go forward with that one, Jason.
So you said earlier in the conversation, Brandon, like the further you go, the better you feel. And you sort of teased out what's next by saying in 2024, I'm assuming, is what you're looking at for the Triple Crown.
Yes.
Do you have a list of events that you're like, hey, I've got to make sure I want to do these things. I want to make sure I do these things.
That's a good question. And everything that I do like that is self-supported. So, because Helgi told me, he's like, well, you should run 100K and you should run 100 miles and you should, you might want to wait. I remember when I was pacing with him on a section, he said, you might want to wait 2 years to do Cocodona. And I said, no, dude. I said, this is happening now. I don't have this kind of time. And so it's kind of the 100K, the back-to-back 50Ks, and 100-miler were kind of like my things I wanted to do before Cocodona. And they've all been self-supported, so that like I have to do everything, because, and that's part of like battle testing, is like that way when I get to Cocodona and I have an aid station where like someone fills my water bottle, like that's going to be huge. And so I'm going to do, when I did the 100Ks done, the back-to-back 50Ks are done, and the 100 miles, I'm just waiting for like a little better weather window. I mean, I will go out there and freeze my ass off for 100 miles, but I don't want to be just soaking wet and get sick. So, and in the Pacific Northwest, it rains all the time. So I'll probably do 100 miles probably in January or February, and I'm just going to go to the trails by my house, and I keep everything in the trunk of my car, and I'm just going to go run 100 miles.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I love it. I love to hear it.
And I love the way you make it sound like it takes a lot of mental toughness to do something like that. And the way, like, we make things sound easy like that, but like going out and just doing 100 miles with like your stuff and like, like no buckle at the end, no crew, no pacers, just going out and doing the damn thing, there's something amazing about doing, what they call like a fat ass event.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want a picture of my watch at the end that says 100 miles. That's all I want.
Yeah. The thing about that is, right, because you're on your own and nobody knows it.
Yeah.
That stop at 60 miles, you're like, yeah, stop. People will pat you on the back. Congratulations, you ran the 100K, 62 miles. But in your own mind, like, you stopped.
Yeah.
You keep going. So that's, not having the aid station support or crew support, it takes a lot to get through.
The crew support that's all in my head. And I always pretend, because I know everyone that's on my team. I'm friends with all of them. I've talked to all of them. And in my head, I always I just visualize, okay, I'm coming in to here, and my team's going to be here, and I'm pumped to see them. And I get there, and it's just the trunk of my car. But in my mind, I'm somewhere else. And so
yeah,
that's why, everything is in the mind.
So you've done
Yeah, and that's
go ahead on.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say that Mercedes, their Mermaid Zoe, actually just said he only makes it look easy, which is true, which is exactly what I'm getting at. Like, and you just said it yourself, like it's all in the mind, and it just shows the power of your mindset.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jason.
So here's a question for you. We'll rankle the folks that are watching between triathletes and ultra runners. You've done 70.3, you've done 50 mile and 100K. Which do you find harder?
Ultra running's way harder.
Yeah.
Because it's just the same thing over and over and over and over. It's just the same exact thing. And like an Ironman, it's like it's fun all the way through. Like, it's ultra running. Just, I mean, it sucks sometimes, and it's just all up and down, and it is much harder.
I've said this, and so I've had the pleasure of participating in these endurance events for 15 years. I've crossed 8 Ironman finish lines. I've crossed 8 100-mile finish lines and a 250-mile finish line. And the 100-mile finish line is infinitely harder than the Ironman is. I say the 50-mile race is equivalent to an Ironman, a full-on Ironman race, in terms of the time it takes you to run it and everything else.
Yep.
But your point, like, a triathlon is fun.
No, it's
right? Get past that swimming component, like the first 100, 200 meters, you're like, all right, I'm in this. This will be cool.
Yeah.
You get to bike like you're a kid again, and then you finish up the run.
Cool bikes and like it. I mean, it's rad. Ironman is rad. Ultra running is not always rad. Like when it's dark and like you're by yourself and you got to eat like your 10th goo and like it is like. It sucks sometimes, but that's what I like about it.
What's your favorite food out on the trail? Like when you
man, I'll give me those chips, dude. I like the potato chips.
All day.
I pulled into Prescott at Cocodona, and before we pulled into Prescott, I told my crew chief, I'm like, all I want is an ice cream sandwich and an Impossible Whopper when we get to Prescott.
Oh yeah.
And they were phenomenal. Like, it was the greatest food I had.
Oh, I believe it, dude.
Like, you're just so hungry for whatever pops up. Like, you can have a strategy. We could talk about this for Ironman and or ultra running, where you have a strategy, an idea. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to drink this. All these things. At the ultra distance race, when the sun shows up for the second time and you're still moving, you're like, you're not. That strategy is out the window for food. Yep. You're like, whatever they have, I'm hungry.
And it's like something different. Just give me something different. Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding. I was at mile 100 of Moab, and the cook gave me the chef special. It was a Nutella pancake, and that was like the best thing I've ever had. I mean, you're right. It's all out the window.
Yeah, I remember when I was I paced Helgi to I think Fort Tuthill, and I mean I was like back then I didn't know really anything about ultra running, and I didn't have enough water. I got dehydrated. I didn't have enough food, and I remember we got to the aid station, and I was like taking chicken nuggets with like French fries and like giant chunks of avocado and like just mashing it up, and it was like so good. Like I would never eat that.
Not for a million years, dude. They wouldn't pay you. You couldn't get paid to eat that crap.
I remember being there, sitting there, and I'm like, damn, this is so good.
It's so good. The salt, the fat, all of it.
Yep.
Did you leave Jerome with Helgi?
No, I did not. Lori did. I just, me and Patrick, another guy that has AS, we went up there and crewed him at Jerome, and then he left with Lori. But it was just the whole experience of being in Jerome with the sunrise, seeing runners come in after being up all night on Mingus Mountain was just incredible. It was incredible. And I just was like, I'm doing this, dude.
Yeah, I'll give you an early alert. Like when you leave Jerome, if the course is still the same, it's brutal leaving Jerome. Like it literally just goes straight down. Like it's all fuck, man. Like just be if you remember this, be careful when you leave Jerome.
I'll remember, and I love watching West Plate videos.
I
And I have watched his.
love West
Oh,
Plate.
dude, West Plate is so awesome. I cannot wait to meet that guy at the start line. And his two Cocodona videos, I have probably watched them, I mean, hundreds of times. So,
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of meeting Wes a couple times, and dude remembers my name. Like, he's one of the nicest, down to earth dudes I've ever met,
he,
and his videos are amazing.
yeah, he just seems so nice. I cannot wait to meet that guy.
Hey everybody, Cohen or Om Gandhi here, and before we move on to the rapid fire section of our show, I wanted to give a shout out to our brand partners at Cocodona. Thank you so much for making this happen. Check out the Nano Spikes. They're great for abrasive and slippery surfaces. They're great for when you're running in the snow, especially on asphalt and concrete. Can't take my word for it? Then go to Katua.com and check out all the amazing reviews for their products. And now, on to the rapid fire.
Yeah. So, Brandon, are you ready for our rapid fire? There's no gotcha journalism. Most of the questions are food questions.
Let's do it.
You ready to go? All right. All right, first question. And depending on this, you're either friends with Jason for life or we're done here. um, uh, Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Oh, yeah, dude, it's good.
Oh God.
Heck yeah, you're my friend forever, dude.
I'll still help you with Cocodona questions.
All right.
When you're on the trail, music, podcast, or nothing at all?
It's either music up all the way or nothing at all. I don't do podcasts. I can't focus on them. So lately it's just been music.
What kind of music?
Oh man, listen to like everything, but like a lot of hip hop and a lot of lately I've been listening to a lot of not metal but just like heavier stuff. And then I've been kind of into Macklemore a lot lately these last couple weeks out there. So
Awesome.
Love it. Peeps, yay or nay?
what's that?
Peeps. They're like those are they like they're like those duck marshmallows, right?
Just throw in the garbage after you. Yeah.
That's
No.
how we're
Those are terrible.
Right in the garden.
Garbage.
exactly.
I wouldn't even eat.
We've had people
Dude.
Oh God, we've had people come on the show and say that, all due respect to them, say that they would eat them stale.
Yeah, they prefer them like, oh.
Yeah. No.
Candy corn, yay or nay?
Good. Yep.
All right. 2 out of 3 wrong, but that's all right.
Oh man.
It's so funny. We've Jason told me and a couple of the guests earlier that they have a bacon flavored candy corn now, and I was like, why?
Yay or nay?
On what?
Eating them, circus peanuts. Have you ever seen those? Not the real peanuts, but those orange things that they sell in the package at the gas stations.
Oh no, I'm not eating those.
Red velvet cake. Is it real? Is it a real flavor, or is it just chocolate with red dye?
I would say it's chocolate.
There we go.
That's what I think.
Favorite flavor cake?
Oh man. My favorite flavored cake. I like carrot cake.
Yes.
I would go with that.
Are you a pie guy? Do you like pie?
Oh, I love pie, yeah.
What kind of pie?
Cherry pie, pumpkin pie. I don't like apple pie. I don't like the chunks of apples in there, but pretty much but honestly, just pie crust. Like just go. I don't need any filling.
Key lime pie?
Yeah, I'll eat that. I'll eat any kind of pie for sure.
Very cool. What's your favorite recovery meal?
Oh man, I usually I have like a protein shake with some L-glutamine, and then when I get home, honestly, I just eat like whatever is in the kitchen. I really like when I make potatoes, I'll make just like a ton of extra potatoes, and just pretty much anything on potatoes. I'll eat all of it when I'm done running.
Are you
Or my mom makes gluten-free, dairy-free lasagna for me, and I will crush that shit.
I might have to come up there to hang out with you and Mom then, because gluten-free, dairy-free lasagna is in my wheelhouse.
Oh, she's gonna cook at Cocodona. If you're there,
there we go.
then yeah, man, you can have some.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Are you a movie or TV show guy?
That?
Are you a movie or TV show guy?
Well, I like both, man. I like the TV series though. I would say, like, when you get the episodes, 6, 7 episodes. I like that.
So what's your favorite TV show then?
Man, there's so many. I like let's see, like on Netflix, like a TV series. Netflix.
Yep.
I like that Mindhunter. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then man, there's so many, dude. I'll watch. You want to say hi? This is my boy Emery.
Hi, Emery. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Emery. Nice to meet you.
Mermaidzilla said shepherd's pie. I don't know if she's asking us.
That's my tattoo apprentice. She makes the best shepherd's pie, and they made it for me like a month ago. I'm trying to get her to do it again. She won't do it though. It's so good.
Awesome. Well, hey, Brandon, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, your story, dealing with alcoholism, dealing with spondylitis, both of those stories from one person are inspiring. Coming from the same person is super inspiring and motivating. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who are just getting on right now and have missed the show, it'll be on our stream here in a minute, but you can also get it on our podcast. You can get it on YouTube, and you can get it on our website here real soon too. Outside of
and
Brandon, where else can people find you? And mention the donation link again, please.
Just on Instagram, you can just find me do as is, and then there's a link there in my bio where you can donate to my AS fundraiser, and that's really the best way to follow what I'm doing. I'm pretty active on Instagram, so just check it out on there. And I love it when people like with AS or with something message me and they're like, "Hey, dude, I did this today." Like, send me a picture of your Strava, send me, and I write back to everybody because I just think it's so kick-ass that people are like, "Hey, I did this." So tell me what you did.
Appreciate it, Brandon. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you all.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Hey everybody, Cohen or Om Gandhi here one last time, and I just want to thank everybody for joining us on another edition, the audio edition of the Fireside Chat. Thank you so much to our partners and our viewers for making this possible. And to all, a good night.